What is going on, guys? In today's video I will show you the top 10 game-breaking and meta-defining builds in Exile 2. No matter if you're into martial arts styled unarmed combat, chaotic spell-slinging blood mages, lightning-fast bow builds, or tanky melee invokers, this list has something for everyone. Each build I will cover is just not shown on paper. It's fun, unique, and perfectly suited to the new mechanics introduced in this update. From screen clearing mappers to the single target boss melters, I'll walk you through why each one of these builds will stand out, how they play, and what makes them so effective. And remember, if you want to check these builds, look up the best items, the skill trees, and path of building, then check my links in the description. If you ever played Exile 2 for long enough, then you know that the grind for currency can feel endless. And that's where today's sponsor comes in. Skycoach is a trusted platform used by over 150,000 gamers worldwide. They offer pro player support in more than top 25 games, including POE2. No matter if you need a faster start, you want help with the tough content, or just want currency delivered safely and quickly, then Skycoach has you covered. What I really like is how smooth the whole process is, from click to the gameplay in minutes, clear and fast chats with their team, plus if an order is not fulfilled, you get an instant refund. I've tried it myself, and honestly, it just makes the game more fun. So if you wanna skip the grind and enjoy POE2 your way, then click my link in the description to check out Skycoach, and use my code KATE for extra 10% off. So first up we have the Hollow Palm Invoker build. This setup is brand new in 0.3 update, and I promise you, it's everything that you ever wanted if you dreamed about playing a pure martial artist build. So no clunky weapon swaps, no chasing expensive uniques every 5 levels, no stressing about the perfect 6-length bow, and thanks to Hollow Palm, those fists will hit like a truck. Now I'll be upfront, the core of your gameplay revolves around the Storm Wave and the Upwheel for insane map clear, while Tempest Flurry and Tempest Belt shred bosses and rares with precision combo damage. I love this build because it solves one of the biggest problems for most players, which is the gear dependency. With Hollow Palm, you don't need to farm a weapon or even spend much currency. The keystone scales directly off your attributes, your gem levels, and your defenses. That means every upgrade you pick up will automatically feed your fists more damage. It's cheap, it's efficient, and it's fast. Second, the setup plays exactly how you want a monk to feel. You're not standing in the back shooting arrows or waiting for the cooldowns. Overall, this build clears like lightning fast mapper, with huge AoV from the Storm Wave, but it also has that controlled single target rotations that you need for the big bosses. Then for our second one, we have the Ember fusillade blood mage build. This setup is not just about the raw power, but about transforming the fireball into something that feels entirely new, thanks to the infusion system and the Black Flame Covenant keystone. The concept of turning ordinary flames into the purple chaos fire that scales with both ignite and chaos mechanics makes this build one of the most unique spellcasters in the game. And at its core, the build revolves around the fireball that has existed since the very beginning of the Exile 2, but fireball has dramatically changed in the 0.3 by becoming a spell that interacts with the new infusion mechanics. Infusions are temporarily elemental ground effects generated by the certain spells, and when you consume a fire infusion with a fireball, your next cast will explode into multiple secondary projectiles. And now suddenly, your fireballs no longer feel like a slow single orb, but more like a miniature storm of bolts, by spreading across the screen and multiplying your damage in every direction. On top of this, the Black Flame Covenant keystone changes the way you scale entirely, by converting all of your fire spell damage into chaos. Not only do your flames now appear purple, but they also ignite as chaos, meaning that your damage over time comes from a completely different scaling pool. This allows you to stack chaos multipliers, ignite duration, and damage over time in ways that no ordinary firecaster can achieve. Next up we got the Lightning Spear Bleed Blood Mage build, which is a brutal mix of speed, safety, and bleed focused destruction. Instead of relying on physical damage alone, this build cleverly twists elemental damage into devastating bleeds thanks to the blood barbs. The core loop is simple yet deadly. You ride your raw mountain through the maps, hurling lightning spears from afar to stack bleeds while generating the life remnants, which overflows your health pool and keeps you remarkably resilient. This creates a playstyle that feels both aggressive and tanky, allowing for smooth map clears without worrying about survival. For bossing and maximum single target bleed damage, this build layers mechanics together, so disengage creates the shocked ground beneath the targets, Infernal Cry empowers the rake, and when cast from the maximum range, this combo unleashes absurd amount of bleed values that melt enemies in seconds. Defenses are handled early through the Blood Mage Ascendancy, with the Grasping Wounds delaying incoming damage and the Crimson Power, granting immense life scaling tied to your chest armor's energy shield. What makes the build especially appealing is its accessibility. No uniques are required to function, but items like the Tangle Tongue, Ingenuity, or Heart of the Veil will offer strong, affordable upgrades. With the fast clears, huge life sustain, and flexible elemental scaling, this Blood Mage strikes the perfect balance between the power and practicality. Next up, we have the Flicker Strike Invoker build. This setup has been a fan favorite ever since first tested, and even though the new changes brought in few adjustments, it still holds position as one of the most powerful setups in the game. In fact, it's only got smoother with some of the changes in 0.3. The concept of this build revolves around combining near 100% critical strike chance through the Storm Wave and the Upfeel, all while amplifying damage with the Herald of Ash and Herald of Thunder. What you get is an absolutely devastating clear speed that rivals the best ranged builds, but in melee form. For bossing, the Flicker Strike becomes your weapon of choice, enhanced further by Infernal Cry for the burst damage. With this combination, even pinnacle bosses on tier 4 maps can be one-tapped. The beauty of this build is that it avoids the classic inconsistency of Flicker Strike while mapping. Instead, we are relying on more stable Storm Wave for the clear and saving Flicker for the moments that matter the most. Between Energy Shield Recharge, Instant Flask Recovery, Chaos and the Damage Over Time immunity, and multiple defensive mechanics layered on the top, the sustain feels incredibly smooth. So in short, you get everything you could possibly want. Explosive clearing power, unmatched boss damage, consistent sustain, and a character that can survive the hardest content. Then next we have the most popular build currently in the game, aka the Lightning Arrow Deadeye. This is a setup that has been making waves across the community because of how effortlessly it can shred through the maps, crush bosses and scale into the endgame. If you are someone who enjoys a fast-paced, ranged playstyle with the ability to delete entire screens of enemies in seconds, then this is the setup you definitely want to try. The strength of this build comes from combining Lightning Arrow's massive screen clearing power with the supportive mechanics like the Herald of Thunder, Tornado Shot, and the Lightning Rods for devastating single target damage. When you're mapping, it feels like you're constantly surrounded by chain explosions of the lightning and the thunder, as shocked enemies will fall and trigger more health procs. And then, when it comes time to fight bosses, you can switch gears into a very controlled single target rotation that melts even the tankiest encounters. What really makes this setup a standout compared to the other builds in the 0.3 is its versatility. It clears like a zooming mapper, but also has the raw damage to take down pinnacle bosses, and on top of that, it's very forgiving to gear around. Then for number 6, we have the Fireball Blood Mage build, which is a fast-paced, chaotic caster that thrives on turning life into the raw destructive power. By sacrificing health to fuel spells, you will unleash relentless waves of purple explosions that are constantly spending and recovering life in a cycle that keeps gameplay aggressive and fluid. The core loop revolves around planting living bombs on the enemies to generate fire infusions, then detonating them with the Fireball, combined with the Frost Wall, which shatters into overlapping projectiles when struck, and the build creates devastating bursts that shreds packs and melts bosses. As the build scales into the endgame, uniques like the Atalius Bloodletting and the Blood Sacrifice will push our life costs, and therefore recovery and damage to extreme levels. A strong Wand and Focus will become vital upgrades, especially when crafted with the perfect essence of the sorcery or huge gem level boosts. Next, we got the Ice Strike Invoker build. This setup has quickly become one of my favorite ones, because it manages to combine the speed and the rhythm of melee combat, with safety and explosiveness of cold damage scaling. The backbone of this build is the Invoker's Ascendancy, which absolutely is the best fit for a hardcore player. Meditate allows us to stack oversized energy shield pool by giving us a massive defensive buffer. Then Lead Me Through the Grace ramps up our spirit, which we channel directly into the Ghost Dance Elemental Conflux, Wind Dancer and the Herald of the Ice. And then on the damage side, the Ascendancy nodes I Am the Thunder and I Shall Rage are what pushes this setup from strong to downright godlike. They give us valuable scaling options and ramp up our damage multipliers in ways that feel instantly impactful the moment that you invest into them. With a solid staff in hand, most of your map clearing is completely trivial. So Shattering Palm, Herald of Ice and Frozen Spite will tear through the packs with near effortless speed. And then, when you do encounter tankier rears or the bosses, then we shift into gears. You lean onto the quarterstaff strike in a combination with the elitist chimes to generate power charges and transition into the charge staff and the tempest belt, and then let the ice check handle all the heavy lifting for single target burst damage. Next up we got Essence Drain Contagion Lich build. This is a chaos-based caster setup that focuses on combining Essence Drain and Contagion together to create a devastating spread of damage over time, while summoning Dark Effigy totems to annihilate bosses and tough rares. Essence Drain serves as your primary single target tool, dealing very high chaos dot damage that scales with every investment, while Contagion spreads that damage across the entire packs by chaining from the monster to monster until the screen is wiped clean. Then Dark Effigy amplifies the single target damage by multiplying projectiles based on the number of active dots, making it incredibly strong for boss encounters. What makes the build exceptional is how well it is rounded. Offensively, it delivers some of the best sustained chaos dots in the game, without relying on complicated rotations, and then defensively, the Lich Ascendancy provides a massive energy shield pull, while Soulless Form converts life regeneration into the mana regeneration, by giving the build almost unshakable sustain. Eternal Life locks your health in a place with energy shield, while mitigating damage and creating a near constant safety buffer. Then for one of the last ones, we have the Ice Shot Deadeye build. This setup takes everything that people love about the Lightning Arrow meta and flips it into the cold-based monster that freezes, shatters, and absolutely demolishes maps at a lightning speed. In patch 0.3, the cold bow skills and the Deadeye both received huge buffs, and when you put those two things together, you get a build that doesn't just clear screens, it erases them before enemies even have a chance to move. For map clearing, the Ice Shot is your workhorse. With the right support gems, projectiles will chain across the screen by spreading chilling ground and freezing everything in their path. Packs will just not die, they will explode in a cascade of the shatters by leaving nothing behind but just loot. And then when it comes to bosses, that's when you bring out the Lightning Rod, Orb of Storms and the Snipe. Together, these tools will let you melt bosses in seconds, while layering freezing effects that keep them locked down. The fact that you can both clear like a speed demon and take down endgame encounters will make this build incredibly versatile. And now finally, for number 10 build, we got the Spark Blood Mage build. This is a setup designed to take you through the hardest endgame content, with a single ability at its core. Everything revolves around the Spark, which is a spell that fills the battlefield with dozens of projectiles that ricochet, bounce and zap their way through the enemies, until nothing is left standing. With the setup, the Spark is pushed to its absolute limit, and the result is a screen-wide lightning storm that leaves no survivors. What makes the build so special is how it combines the Spark with the Blood Mage archetype. Instead of worrying about the mana or juggling awkward resource management, every cast is paid directly with the life. On paper, that might sound risky, but with the right passive tree, gear and the flask setup, it actually feels incredibly smooth. Our life is gained constantly, but it is also replenished instantly through the regeneration, flask recovery and the natural sustain provided by the Blood Mage mechanics. This means you can cast endlessly without running dry, and it creates a unique rhythm where your survival and the offense are intertwined. The build achieves 100% critical strike chance for all the spells, which means that every spark projectile, every orb and every supportive proc is guaranteed to crit.